It was a quiet Thursday, the kind that made the whole world feel distant. Rain tapped gently against the windows. My husband Mark had been in Seattle on business for 2 days. I was used to these trips, but the silence still surprised me. Wrapped in a knit throw and holding a half-read book and a lukewarm mug of chamomile tea, I was deep in stillness when the doorbell rang. It startled me. We don't get visitors during the week. I padded to the door, slippers soft against the hardwood. Through the window I saw Paul, Mark's best friend since college. I hadn't seen him in months. He lived across town and only ever visited when Mark was home. He smiled, holding a paper bag. "Hey Helen, I was nearby. Brought your favorite almond scones from that bakery on 6th. Hope that's not weird." Something about his thoughtfulness caught me off guard. I stepped aside. "Come in. You'll catch a cold out there." He hesitated, then walked in like he'd done 100 times before. I in the kitchen poured tea as the smell of warm pastries blended with lavender hand soap and rain. It all felt familiar yet somehow charged. We really talked about aging parents, about books, about time, and how it moves faster when you're not paying attention. Then it shifted. "You look well," he said gently. I laughed, brushing off invisible lint. "I look like I've been arguing with the thermostat all morning." He smiled, quiet, observant. We kept talking, and somewhere between the second cup of tea and a story about Mark and Paul's road trip in their 20s, I realized how safe I felt, not because he was familiar but because he was paying attention. At one point he reached across the table and rested his hand lightly over mine. I didn't pull away. His gaze lingered a second too long. "I'm sorry," he said, pulling back slowly. "You didn't cross a line," I whispered. "I just wasn't expecting." We sat in silence after that, companionable, honest silence. Then he left, the door clicking gently behind him, but something stayed. The next morning I couldn't stop thinking about that moment, not because it was romantic, not exactly, but because I felt seen, like the version of me I used to know was still alive somewhere, waiting to be remembered. Later he texted, "Hey Helen, I really enjoyed yesterday. Hope you're having a good day." I replied before I could overthink it. It was nice, comforting even. "Thank you." Days passed. I kept replaying the way he looked at me, not with flotation but with presence. Then on Saturday he invited me to a photography exhibit. 1950s portraits. Mark hates museums. I hadn't been to one in years. "Just friends catching up," he said. I said yes. The museum was hushed, full of frozen moments in black and white. Paul and I moved through them slowly, without the need to fill silence, at a small cafe afterward. He asked about my writing. He remembered. "You used to tell stories," he said. "You still can." He reached into his coat and handed me a small sealed envelope. "Not romantic, just thoughts. You don't have to read it." He wasn't pushing for anything. He was just honest, seen, real. When I got home, I waited until the house was asleep before opening the letter, just a page and a half. He wrote about the first time we met, about my laugh, my way of listening. He said he'd noticed how I'd slowly faded into the background over the years. He ended with, "I just wanted you to know that someone noticed." The next day I picked up a journal I hadn't opened in over a decade. My handwriting was younger, more confident. I started writing again. Mark returned the following evening, tired, routine, heavy. We fell back into our usual rhythm. Nothing was wrong, but nothing felt fully alive either. One evening Mark noticed. "You've been different lately," he said. "More thoughtful." I told him I'd been riding again. "I always thought you gave it up too easily," he said, surprising me. "I'm glad you're doing it again." I smiled. I think I stopped noticing myself for a while. He reached for my hand in bed that night. It wasn't fireworks. It was comfort. But something inside me had changed. A week later I found myself near the park where Paul and Mark used to play softball. I hadn't planned it. I parked under the old sycamore and sat for a while. Then I saw, and he didn't wave. He didn't smile right away, but when our eyes met, I felt it again, the quiet recognition, not of what might be, but of everything I still